Hey FPL managers, it's Josh here from FPL Hawley, back with my weekly Game Week deep dive video. So I scored 59 points in Game Week 15. That's my 6th consecutive green arrow, and I've now broken into the top 40k overall rank. I've gone from 350k in Game Week 9 to 39k, and that's a 310k rank climb in just 6 game weeks. Now, Bruno delivered an early Christmas present for me, and now we're heading into the crucial AFCON free transfer period with those glorious 5 free transfers to spend. So today I'm breaking down my Game Week 15 performance, 3 key lessons including Arsenal's defensive crisis and who's facing suspension, and my complete strategy for navigating Game Week 16 to 19. Let's dive in. Alrighty, my Game Week 15 review. So I scored 59 points, which gave me another green arrow. That's 6 in a row now, and I'm sitting at 39k overall rank. Now, in terms of transfers, Game Week 15 came down to one massive decision that I agonized over all week long, and somehow I actually got it right. I had 2 free transfers heading into Game Week 15, and I wanted to use them both. The sensible option was Richards to Anderson, a safe sideways move that freed up some funds. The brave option was selling Semenyo and Gakpo for Minteh and Foden. I spoke about my dilemma a lot in last week's video and on my deadline stream, and in the end, I rolled the dice. Now, Semenyo had a goal ruled out against Chelsea, but he ultimately blanked. Gakpo also blanked and then went off injured. Now, obviously don't want to see players injured, but he's now confirmed out for a few weeks, and that would have given me a transfer headache this week, so I'm glad that I got ahead of that injury. Meanwhile, Minteh came into my team, he blanked, but Foden absolutely delivered with a brilliant 12-pointer. So sometimes you just have to trust your gut and back the form players. The real hero of my game week, though, was Bruno Fernandes. 18 points on Monday nights. He basically single-handedly saved my game week and kept my green arrow streak alive. When you captain Haaland and he blanks, you really need someone else to step up, and Bruno, for me, did exactly that. Now for the lowlights. I had 6 blanks this week. My entire front line failed to deliver. Haaland, Mateta and Thiago all drew blanks. Mateta is firmly in my crosshairs now as a transfer out. He's looking exhausted, he's getting subbed early, and Palace's fixtures are turning. And Palace actually have 5 games now before Christmas, compared to Fulham's nicer run. So I'm seriously considering moving Mateta on for Raul of Fulham, but more on that decision in a bit. How did you get on in Game Week 15? Let me know your score in the comments and tell me if you're also riding this green arrow wave with me. Right, 3 takeaways from Game Week 15 that are shaping my decisions over the coming game weeks. So first up, Arsenal's defensive crisis is real and it showed badly at Villa Park. Arsenal went to Villa Park without Gabriel, Saliba and Mosquera, and they had a 16-year-old centre-back on the bench. And they ultimately paid the price. Villa registered 2.38 expected goals. That was the highest of the entire Game Week 15. So Buendia clinched the winner with basically the final kick of the match, and it was Arsenal's 4th league defeat since the start of the 22-23 season without Gabriel or Saliba starting. Timber was unable to be rested because of these injuries. Timber actually played the 90 at centre-back, and he looked like he could have used the break. And now there's another problem for Arsenal. So Calafiori picked up his 5th yellow card and is suspended for Game Week 16. So this opens up some interesting short-term punt options if you want a nice entry point into the Arsenal defence. So Hincapie, who's currently playing at left centre-back covering Gabriel, is just 5.4 million. And Lewis Skelly, who I think will come in for Calafiori at left-back, is just 5.1 million. So they both could be very great. They could both be great short-term differentials while Arsenal are navigating this injury crisis. So something to seriously consider as well if you want to maintain double Arsenal defence without breaking the bank on Timber. Second, let's talk about those suspensions. And this is crucial for that Game Week 16 planning. So here's how the yellow card rule works. 5 yellow cards in the first 19 game weeks gets you a 1-match ban. And importantly, these suspensions must be served in Premier League matches, not in cup games. So we've only played 15 matches so far. So we're still a bit of a way off that 19-game threshold, but some popular FPL assets are now suspended for Game Week 16 after picking up their 5th yellow card. So Calafiori, as I already mentioned, you also have Conor Bradley at Liverpool and Kevin Schade at Brentford are all going to miss the next game week. And here's the even scarier part. Several highly owned FPL players are sitting on 4 yellow cards and as such are 1 booking away from a suspension. So Daniel Munoz from Palace, who I own, Dominic Szoboszlai, who I may actually look to bring in soon, Donnarumma, Man City's goalkeeper, and Granit Xhaka, who's also quite highly owned, are all on those 4 yellow cards. So keep an eye on them, because another yellow card means that that is a suspension that you do not need this time of year. Third, and this is worth noting, Munoz was mysteriously omitted from Palace's squad in Gameweek 15. Now, I'm not going to speculate on that, but what I will say is that Munoz is, because we know he's 1 yellow away from suspension, that mystery injury flag and that suspension risk, he's definitely someone to monitor closely. I spent years glued to Football Manager back in the day, building a club from the ground up, scouting talent, perfecting tactics. Then FPL came along and gave me that real-time matchday buzz. Now, for me, Footium is the best of Football Manager and FPL combined into a single game week, and they're actually very generously sponsoring this week's FPL Hawley video. So what I love about for me is you get to own and manage your own football club. You have a youth academy churning out prospects, you're building your squad, setting your tactics, and watching matches play out live. It's only 1 short match per day, so it fits around your life instead of consuming it. Now, let me show you my team. So I've just taken over Held for Wanderers. I have my first match in less than 24 hours. I need to select my team and set my tactics. What I like to do is go in to see the ratings of my players. I rank them by rating. My goalkeeper's my highest rating. Then I've got a DM, a centre forward, which is great. 2 CMs are both 38. Another goalkeeper, centre back. It looks like I've got, of my top ranked players, my best team is probably going to be 3 midfielders, because I have a highly rated DM and 2 CMs. So if I go to my tactics now, and this is where it really reminds me of Football Manager. I love setting these tactics back in the day. If I did like a 4-3-3, yeah, that looks quite like that with the DM. Okay, nice. So I'll set them up like this with the deep line DM, 2 centre mids and a lone centre forward. What I'll probably do now is hit auto pick. Great. So that's then going to put in place the best players into each position. Looks like I need a left back of some description, because this guy doesn't look great. So I might need to dip into the transfer market. I'm going to dip into the transfer market now and see who I can pick up to cover that left back slot. The best part of Footium Team is that you can play for free. Just click my referral link in the description below. You can join my league, take over a rival club, and let's see if you can beat me this season. Now, back to FPL. Now, first half of the season chip strategy. Can you believe that we're over 40% through the season already? And we're now entering the final block of 4 game weeks before all chips refresh for the second half of the season after the Gameweek 19 deadline. And there is a lot happening in this period that you need to be aware of. So first off, we have a full round of European fixtures this week. So that's Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday. And that's the full 9 Premier League teams playing in the Champions League, the Europa League, and the Europa Conference League. Expect massive transfer activity this week. At the time of recording, so this is Tuesday, Foden has already been transferred in 770,000 times. And Foden has just risen overnight again in price, and he's now 8.6 million. Now, Thiago, who's the second highest, has also been bought in 550,000 times, and it's only Tuesday afternoon. This is crazy. So my advice would be to try and hold your nerve and wait until Friday's press conferences to make your moves. See how the midweek European fixtures play out. But I completely understand if you need to move early to avoid price rises. It's a really tough balancing act. Play their final Europa Conference League match. Then, between game week 17 and 18 on December the 23rd, Arsenal and Palace play their rescheduled Carabao Cup quarter-final. So take note, Palace play 5 times between now and Christmas. That's in just 17 days. Right, so in terms of my updated player watch list, I've moved away from those short-term 1 or 2 game week punts that really didn't work for me. I'm now back to my tried and tested strategy, which is focusing on players with a good balance of form and favourable fixtures over the next 4 to 6 game weeks. I've added a few new names to my watch list this week, and I've highlighted them in orange on your screen, so let me walk you through them. Starting with goalkeepers, Raya for me remains number 1 choice. I've got him and I'm holding him, and I'm prioritising double Arsenal defence for game week 16. Raya is for me a key part of that plan. But if you want a budget option, Verbruggen at Brighton is just 4.4 million and rotates really nicely with Dubravka of Burnley over this period. So a great budget pairing if you're looking to save funds elsewhere. Now for defenders, my big decision this week is which Arsenal asset to bring in. With so many injuries and flags, it's either Timber or Hincapie for me. So there's actually over $1 million apart in price between the two of them, which does make a really big difference if I'm looking to upgrade other areas of my team. Timber's attacking threat so far this season is great, but here's the thing. While Saliba's out at right centre-back, Timber played right-sided centre-back against Villa, and Ben White played at right-back. So if that continues, Timber's attacking output is going to be really limited in the short term. We obviously don't know how long Saliba's going to be back for. It could be as early as game week 16. Hincapie, on the other hand, is a nice hold on that left side centre-back position at just 5.4 million. And if I went with Hincapie, I could just keep funds back to upgrade Hincapie straight back up to Gabriel when Gabriel returns from injury. I think Gabriel has now dropped down to 6.2, maybe even 6.1. So Gabriel is now actually quite a bit more affordable than Timber. So when Gabriel's back, I could just go straight from Hincapie to Gabriel. I also really like Van den Berg at Brentford. Brentford's fixtures are really decent. Their home form is solid. Van den Berg is good for DEFCON, and he has a bit of attacking threat from set pieces. At 4.5 million, Van den Berg would be my 4.5 defender choice moving forward. And then in terms of midfielders, I want us to do a special shout out to Declan Rice. He is now the highest scoring midfielder in the entire game this season, which is absolutely crazy. Now, personally, I'm holding Saka, and I'm going to prioritise double Arsenal defence rather than double Arsenal attack. But fair play to anyone who owns Rice. He has been absolutely exceptional. He's not really a player I would usually go for, but he certainly ticks along. And hey, you can't argue with the facts. He's the highest scoring midfielder in the game. I'm also very intrigued by Dewsbury Hall at 5.1 million. He's got some great attacking returns recently. He can pick up defensive contribution points, and he's basically like a budget Bruno Fernandes and at nearly half the price. If I do go Hincapie over Timber, I could upgrade my dead midfield spot of Josh King to Dewsbury Hall. And having that rotating eighth attacker during the Christmas period could be really valuable. Also thinking about Dewsbury Hall with Njai leaving for AFCON, there could be some more attacking options that he might take up and positions on the team, and he might get even more points during this period. And then finally for strikers, it is slim pickings outside of Haaland and Thiago, who are both incredibly template right now. I'm seriously considering moving Mateta to Raul of Fulham, who's the man on the screen. Raul doesn't set my world on fire, but he is a guaranteed starter as Munoz, their other striker, is injured. Fulham have Burnley, Forest and West Ham in their next 3 fixtures, so really nice. And at just 6.2 million, Raul is great value for money. And he allows me to make that move if I need to upgrade Timber as well. So Raul is firmly on my watch list for this coming game week. Now, let me walk you through my plans for game week 16 to 19, starting with captaincy. So in game week 16, I'm pretty happy to bet against Haaland and go with Saka at home to Wolves. Arsenal will want to bounce back from that Villa defeat with a statement win, and I'm predicting 3-0 to Arsenal. Saka's minutes still aren't great. He got subbed again against Villa in the 70-something minute when they were chasing a lead, so that doesn't fill me with confidence, but I think Saka has enough to get at least one return against a poor Wolves side. City, on the other hand, they face Palace away, and I believe Palace away is a really tough fixture, and the Palace's back three will make life very difficult for Haaland. Game week 17, Haaland is at home to West Ham. No brainer, putting the armband on Haaland, forgetting about it. This is also a brilliant candidate for anyone who hasn't used their triple captain yet. So Haaland at home to West Ham in game week 17, I would be playing my triple captain if you haven't already. Game week 18 is where it gets interesting. Liverpool have a lovely fixture at home to Wolves, but I don't have and don't plan to bring in any Liverpool assets currently. And then here's my thinking. Bruno Fernandes just scored me that 18-pointer away at Wolves. And when I look ahead to game week 19, the fixtures are actually the reverse of what we've just had in game week 15. So Man United play Wolves at home in game week 19. Now that could be another massive score for Bruno. And if you fancied a differential punt, you could play your triple captain the last week that you're able to if you've still got it. And Bruno home to Wolves could be a great shout. Now, in terms of transfers, I want to be clear that 5 transfers is the maximum any manager can hold in a single game week. So if you don't use at least 1 transfer this game week, you will lose it. You can't roll it over to 6 or 7. It has to be used, otherwise you're going to burn transfers. For me, I'm not planning much beyond this game week, and I want to make at least 2 transfers in game week 16. And my priority is getting back to double Arsenal defence. So here are my proposed moves. Chow to either Timber or Hincapie, and I'm still torn on which one. And then I really like the Mateta to Raul move. As I mentioned, Mateta looks absolutely knackered. He's getting subbed early. Hincapie is a threat for his minutes. And Palace's fixtures not only turn, so they're not as favourable, but they actually play 5 times between now and Christmas compared to Fulham's kind of fixtures. There's also a third option I'm considering. Going Mateta all the way down to GUI at Chelsea at an even cheaper price. Now, if I did that, I could upgrade Josh King to Szoboszlai and play a 3-5-2 formation. But as I said, Szoboszlai is sitting on those 4 yellow cards, so that suspension risk makes me nervous. If I went with Timber, that would leave me 0.3 million in the bank, which could let me do Richards to either Anderson at Crystal Palace or Van den Berg at Brentford down the line, a Konate, a Collins or a Chalobah in defence, or I could upgrade King to Dewsbury Hall or even Anderson in midfield. So more viable options there if I wanted to move to a solid 2-striker formation and then have more options in either defence or midfield. Using a third transfer this game week would be a luxury. That's why I quite like the Timber transfer, because it does limit me, but I'll probably wait until the deadline to make that call after seeing how the European fixtures play out in midweek. So in terms of my game week 16 setup, before I make any moves this week, I have 0.4 million in the bank, and I've got those 5 free transfers like everyone else burning a hole in my pocket. As I mentioned, my planned transfers are Chow and Mateta out for Timber and Raul instead of Timber, and possibly swapping Richards to Vandenberg or upgrading Josh King to Dewsbury Hall. I'm reluctant to break up my double Palace defence, but the flexibility might be worth it. And I'm also monitoring that Munoz flag closely. Even if I make those 2 proposed moves, I'll still need to start either Minteh at Anfield or one of my Palace defenders at home to City, which neither option fills me with confidence, but that's FPL and you can't have all the optimal players every single game week. Saka is definitely my captain at home to Wolves this week, but backing against Haaland always makes me nervous. But still, I feel confident with that triple up on Arsenal at home to a very poor Wolves side. Arsenal are going to be desperate to bounce back, and I think they'll do it in style. City and Villa will both also have tough away fixtures this week, so this could be Arsenal's chance to extend their lead at the top. How are you planning to use at least one of your free transfers this week? I'd love to hear your strategy heading into this crucial transfer period. So there we have it, Game Week 15 reviewed with that 59-point haul and my 6th consecutive green arrow taking me to 39k overall rank. Arsenal's defensive crisis is one to watch, suspensions are hitting hard, and we're heading into the most transfer-heavy week of the season so far. Remember, hold your nerve until Friday if you can with your transfers. Let the European fixtures play out. But if price changes force your hand, don't beat yourself up about it. We all have the extra transfers to fix any potential mistakes we might make. Now, if you found this video helpful, make sure you're subscribed to FPL Hawley because I make videos like this every single week. Clear strategy, no panic, just smart FPL made simple. No deadline stream for me this Saturday, unfortunately, but if you have any dilemmas or questions, leave a comment. I read and respond to every single one. Until then, best of luck in Game Week 16, and let's keep those green arrows coming.